So here it is. So here is your logo. Everything is fine from here. I can say this is the menu. I have a little problem with this. Let me place the mic well. I have a few problems with the website. So here is the thing. Here is the thing. I would suggest when on hover, every menu should indicate that they are they are kind of available for a click. So there should be an interaction between the mouse hover on every link or link menu. So when you hover on this, probably change to the color of the brand, this orange color. When you hover on this, that makes it more easier for people to know exactly what they are doing. Okay, so that's point number one. Just hover on it. The same thing applies to the links over here. You should also be at the link color. When hovering on them, it should show the color of this element background. So when you click on this, I think this is very functional. When you click on the email, it's still very functional. All that is very okay. Now, one other problem I'm having is the call to action buttons. They are very, very irrelevant here because you made them irrelevant. So this button should have a width of about 50 pixels. You can give it at the left padding. It should take like a pixel of 25 pixel, or let's say 30 pixel left and 30 pixel right. The same thing here, 30 pixel left and 30 pixel right. By so doing, the text will be in the middle, and everything else will work fine. Okay, this is just okay. Just increase the size so it will be easier for people to notice that is a button. If not, it will be almost irrelevant being there. Okay, another thing is your hero section heading text. This text is very very tiny, and the text height should be 1 pixel. Okay, so when you click on a text like this, go to advanced, go to typography, make the text line height over here, make it 1, just 1, not make it 1.0. You can make it 1.1, but 1 is very okay. Make it 1 so it will collapse. There is too much of gap here. And for body text, just leave it at 1.5 at the most. Okay, body text 1.5 and heading text 1. Heading text should also be increased. The size is too small. You can use a size of 40 or let's say 50 for that particular one, because this one is supposed to be a little bit huge and relevant than these other ones. So for instance, we have something like this. This is too big. Let's go to the main page. Okay, you see how these ones look, but this size is okay. Okay, this size is okay. So I will suggest you do just that. Increase the size to about 50, 60, 70 pixels. Heading hero section needs a heavy text to make that part relevant, because this is the main part you want people to take action on. This is the most important part, one of the most important parts in the website. Okay, so do the same thing, collapsing the heading text. Always make the line height, the text line height I talked about here, make it 1. Okay, always make it 1 so it will be, and increase the font thickness here, font thickness to about 700 pixels. If it is Poppins you are using, the font Poppins will help well. Okay, so that will work for that. Then give a little bit of gap between this element and the element beneath. Just give a little bit of gap, something like this. Something like selecting this and giving a gap like this. Okay, so give a little bit of gap there. Then there is too much, it's too clustered, so space it a little. There should be a gap of about 40 pixels here, 40 pixels of gap. Give a breathing space here. It's too clustered into the form, and I don't really like that. So give a little bit of gap from there, and then add a little bit of thickness to the form heading element, just as you did to this one here. Everything else here is perfect. Now, every new section should have a top padding of 100 pixel and a bottom padding of 100 pixel. Like this one, you didn't give any bottom padding here. It's too clustered into this next section. So make sure the section next to it is at least 100 pixel. Mine, I give it about 120 pixels sometimes. So let's check out one of the ones I've made and see the pixel I give. So for instance, this one, let's go to advanced size and spacing. You see I gave it 114 pixel and 101 pixel beneath. So this gives people the chance to read. It makes it easier for your website to be assimilated. Okay, don't make everything too cluttered. The same thing here, we give it 93 here and 100 here. So give it about 100 pixel top and bottom. Okay, now when you are using icons, make sure you use icons that have kind of feel inside of them. What I mean by feel is this. Let me show you an instance. Let me show you an instance of a fill gradient icon. So I will choose one element, then show you the difference between the type of icon you are using and the type of icon I recommend you to use. So let's check out this. Okay, this doesn't have variables. This doesn't have variables. Let's check another one. Let's check out this. This still doesn't have variables. I think probably is this one. Okay, bad network. So I just want to show you okay, very good. So this is the kind of icons you are using. So we select on that one. We should get a variable, please. I needed to show you something. Oh, okay. So let me just use another icon and another icon to show you the difference between what I'm saying. Okay. Stock. Okay, fine. So for instance, what I mean by fill is this. When you have an icon like this and you have an icon like this, you see this icon, the play button is filled in, and this icon, the play button is not filled in. When you use this type of icon on elements that are smaller, it becomes a kind of unscalable. Like it becomes difficult for viewers to understand what it actually is. Okay, you can compare display icon and display icon. This is more easier for you to see from the device, and this is less easier for you to see. So I would like you to make those fixes to this. Find a more filled icon to replace this ones. It will be better. And also the size between these elements 1 and 2 and this other element is not the same. This other elements have a different size, height, and this one have a different size. To fix that, what you do is this. Fix that, what you do is select on the element div. Okay, make it a grid. Okay, fine. Now make it when you make it a grid, it collapses like this. So what you do, you select 3 to make it 3, as we already have here. You have 3. Okay, you make it 3, it becomes 3, but for my case I have it 4, so I'll keep it at 4. So now next thing you need to do is to go to stretch vertical and select this. Stretch vertical selected will make it automatically have the same height no matter the content it have inside of it. So that's what you're gonna do. Still fix the padding in the section top and bottom. The same applies to this. Give a little bit of gap as I talked about in the other one. Always give a pixel left and right in your button. 30 pixel left, 30 pixel right in your button. Always do that. 30 pixel right, 30 pixel left in this one, and give the gap. Why you do that in buttons is so it will become easier for people to read the text when it is very centered. And also add a little bit of thickness to your button text. Very important. The lastly, in buttons, when you hover on a button, it should have a relevant effect. Like for instance, as we have here, when you hover on a button, it changes the color. That will make it easier for people to understand that this is a clickable element. Okay, I think this is okay. Tab elements, very fine. I think a nice transition, a softer transition will make more sense than just having it to jumping from one to the other. A softer transition will make more sense. Then remove the color in the background guiding the div. Remove the color of the div guiding all these elements. It is white. Remove the color so that this part, and this part, the gaps will be transparent. Okay, that's fine. Everything from here is okay. The padding here, the gap you give here is enough, but you can just increase it to 40 or 50 pixels. Give the same element to this part. These parts are okay. Shift, give a little bit of gap from this image to this one. Give a gap here, give a gap here. The new oxygen element have a feature called gap. Okay, so to apply it is this: select on the element you want to apply the gap, select on the div guiding everything, like as we have here, select on the div guiding all these things. The gap applies both vertical and horizontal. So for instance, I have another element at the bottom part. Okay, it applies the same gap to the bottom part. So when you select on the element, you select on the grid, okay, whether you're using grid or not, okay, if you're using grid, if you're using a vertically aligned element, it's still the same thing you apply. See gap over here, select the gap and give it a gap of whatever size you want. So if you give it a gap of 50, you see the size become wider, but I like using the gap of 20, and that is okay for me. Okay, that's okay for me. So that is what you are going to do here. Give a gap of 50 pixels is nice here, so it will be the car will be more centered. Give a gap bottom and top. They do the same thing here. Now whenever you have a text heading centered, make sure the bottom elements are centered too. See, this is what I mean by that. So when I have this element left aligned, it doesn't make sense because the text in the heading is centered, then this one should be centered too. What I mean by centered is not selecting the whole section and hitting on the center aligned. This doesn't affect this element, especially if you have altered it from the typography element. You get the point? So unless you remove this typography element, automatically this will be centered. So make sure your element over here is also centered as the first one is centered too. The same thing here, you have a problem giving gap between the heading text and the element below it. So give a little bit of gap from here to here. From this line to this image, give a little bit more gap. 50 pixels would be nice. Then give 100 pixels at the top of the section, 100 pixels at the bottom. That would be nice. Giving a little bit of curve to your images will make more sense. A little bit of curve, a curve of about 7 pixels, like I did to this one. So to select curve, select the image, go to advanced, go to border. You can go to border radius. I styled this with the class, so I think it's in social div. Yes, 10 pixels is enough, but for that one you can use 7 pixels. That's okay. So scroll down, everything is fine from here. Everything is fine from here. Just apply the settings I just reviewed in the previous ones to this. Now I would suggest all this heading text should be left aligned them. Still apply the sizing I talked about in heading, the sizing in text space, apply the sizing there. Left align this. What I mean by left align is select on the element, the text element, click on advanced, go to typography and hit on the left align from here. This is what you're going to do for all of them there, okay? All of them, left align them, except you are centering this, but it is nice you left align this. Apply the top and bottom padding as I inscribed. This is okay. I love the soft this thing. The shadow here is too much. Reduce the shadow a little more. Add the bottom and top. Add a little bit of thickness to your text. Give a little bit of gapping to this part. There it is too clustering to the edge. Space it a little, like 40 pixel spacing out of this box will make more sense. And everything from here I think is fine. Just add the padding top and padding bottom. That's okay. Everything from here too is fine. Just add a little bit of gapping between these heading elements and the body element. The footer also need a gapping. Footer section gapping top only, doesn't need the gapping bottom. Okay, gapping top only, 100 pixels will be nice. And on hover, I like the effects here on hover. Is a little bit subtle and I think it's fine for me. Okay, everything is fine from here. So these are things you need to work on. Okay, that's just it.